Today we're going to be doing texturing for our Maya model game asset. So we're going to pick some template PBR metallic roughness SATA assets. We're going to select our low poly. We're going to work with 2048 resolution and OpenGL. We've got all our material layers for each object with each texture. First thing we want to do is to bake our mesh maps, texture maps. So things like thickness, position, curvature, ambient occlusion, and the normal. You can use your low poly, but I'm going to select a you can use your low poly to bake this if you don't have a high poly, but I've got a high poly, so I'm going to import that. Okay, so I have that imported. You can use a cage if you want. I'm not going to use a cage. This does the trick. Substance Painter is really good at baking and doesn't have any artifacts like many other programs. Then we're good to bake. So the whole process of baking is to bake detail of the high poly into the low poly. This is good for performance in games and such. Things like the thickness map will add subsurface scattering to our model, and then there's the normal map, which kind of gives it the illusion of a bump map, so it looks like it's got a lot of detail in it. Our baking process is complete. This looks really good. So to start off a base for all of our textures, I'm just going to go to the smart materials section. I think for the head, I'm going to go for creature. I think that's a good start actually. It's a very nice material. I really like that. Let's see what this one looks like. That looks alright, but I'm very much like the green. And we can also look at some of these more metallic textures. So we put this on this. It adds all these grunge maps automatically because the base mesh textures we baked. So we can just find one that fits the look we're going for each one. You can do all this manually. But from here on out, there's just a process of adding multiple layers. If we go into the head, that's already like tons of layers there. We can close that and we can do a fill layer. So we want some purple around the eye sockets. We can then, right click, add black mask, and then using white, we can switch that between X, but we're going to use white. Obviously that's very detailed. Come over here to brushes and do dirt 1, and we can change the size over here, but I'm going to go flow around 30, 40, same with the stroke capacity. Then when we add it, it's very subtle. Very subtle. I might actually give it a lighter color. Make this a bit stronger. We can also put symmetry on. Now do it on the other side as well. You want to put this off sometimes, so you can get variance in the middle here. Can mess around with the colors. You can select which this affects. So if I take off color, obviously you don't see that at all. But roughness, it can affect the roughness as well. But you can also just have the roughness on, and when you paint on, that will paint the roughness. You can also change the roughness around here and other areas, like how metallic it is. And you can also use textures to get more detail in using your the baked mesh maps. So if we make a fill layer here, let's get maybe a reddish color. We can then right click this and add a bitmap mask. I'm going to go curvature, and I'm going to grab the head mesh. Now look like this. We want to invert this. You can add levels to the curvature. We can invert it. They look like that now. I think we want it the opposite of that. I'm going to use these veins for example here, and we can use the levels here to really show it. That's a bit too much. You see, using these layers over here, we can really build up those textures. Now, on something more hard surface, we can add our own sort of grunge maps. So if I select the torso, or I can use the jetpack instead, I'm going to write gun, and they'll give us gun edges. And we can't put that directly on the object. You have to put that on a layer. So I'm going to close this one. I'm going to do a fill layer. And we want maybe something dusty. So like a dusty color. And then we want to put this on there. They look like that. So these little dust specks here. Now let's say we want to do some decals or something. We can go to maybe torso. And got many textures here we could just add on to the torso. Kind of like this. If we go mask, rotate it. I'm gonna scale it. Same way the transform your anything in here is still W, E, and R. That's pretty much the same in most programs. Maybe that's a bit big. Make that red, darkish red. yeah, I just got the color here, so that looks pretty cool. And put something like this on there as a mask, and we can rotate it, and this is how we can just get decals on here using masks. And then we can also add text as well. By searching font, we get multiple different fonts, and we can put text on our model. You do a mask. Okay, that's the problem. Gotta select the torso. Then we can add it. Mask. So you can try and line this up if you want, but I'm just going to demonstrate. You can come down here to text and you can change what this says. Alien. Very basic. One more thing I want to show is adding a channel, or I'm going to add a emissive channel. Come over the layers. I'm going to add a fill layer, make it blue. Actually, I want to use the object. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this layer now, and I'm going to add a fill layer. It's going to be blue, and we need to add that channel. Now we already added we are going to add that because we've got to do that for every different texture set. So now that we've done that, we can come down to selecting emissive from the material, and we can select a blue. Then we can do a black mask. Come over to polygon fill over here, and fill over here, and I'm gonna use this is to fill in triangles. This is do quads, triangles. This is the entire object, and this will go by the UVing. So we select that. We can select back over to the fill layer, and on emissive, basically we need to come up here now. Enable. We have to activate post effects. I'm going to select glare, and we're going to open this up, and we're going to just select basic bloom. And then we're going to come to the shader settings and emissive intensity. Now that will show us some post-processing. If we wanted this to look better, we could make the base color white. But I'm going to keep that on blue. Now these are just basic tools I'm teaching. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to try and make this polished up and finished textured.